أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 197, Surah An-Naml, ayah number 27 to 44. قال, he said, Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he heard the report that the hoopoe gave, he said, Sananzuru, we will see, asadaqta, whether you were truthful, am kunta min al-kadibin, or you were of the liars. What do we see over here? That Sulaiman alayhi salam was extremely intelligent. He did not immediately call him truthful. He did not immediately call him a liar. What did he say? We'll find out. Sananzuru. We're going to see. We're going to check whether what you have said is true, or have you been of those who are lying. Are you lying about all of this, or are you truthful? Now this is something very, very important. We might feel that over here that Sulaiman alayhi salam, he doesn't trust the bird. Oh my God, look at how the bird spoke in such good detail, such good things, positive things the bird said. And look at him, it seems as though he's doubting the bird. No, this is not doubting. This is about not being hasty in taking a step. He's not being hasty in confirming the bird. He's not being hasty in rejecting what the bird said. And this is something extremely important that people with authority must have. Many times what happens, just because somebody has said something to us, immediately we take a step. Just because one child came and said something, we start yelling at the other. Just because one person came and gave their side of the story, we become very, very angry towards the other person, and we don't have time to listen to what they have to say. So it's very, very important that before we take a step in any matter, what do we need to do? Look at both sides of the story. Don't just accept whatever one person is telling you. Investigate. Because if we do not investigate, we might do certain things which end up embarrassing us in the near future. Like for example, if Sulaiman alayhi salam did not accept what the hudhud said over here, and he said, no, you're lying about it. How is it possible that I don't know about these people? I'm supposed to be the prophet of Allah, and you're telling me I don't know about these people? And he could have killed the bird, and later on he could have found out about these people, that these people really exist. How embarrassing it would be for him. A source of great regret for him. And similarly, if immediately he took a step in confirming what the bird said without really investigating, even that could lead to something harmful. So before taking a step, we see that Sulaiman alayhi salam, he says that he will investigate. Asadaqta am kunta min al-kadibin. And I want you to notice something over here. Sadaqta, this is a verb. And al-kadibin, this is what? Ism fa'il. Because if he had said that, or kadabta, have you lied, then it would not be as strong. Okay? There is a difference between you have lied or you are a liar. There's a huge difference. So in this manner, strictness again is being revealed. Asadaqta am kunta min al-kadibin. And he says to the bird, idhab, go, bi kitabi hada, with this letter of mine. Go with this letter of mine, take this letter of mine. Idhab bi means to take. And kitab, as you know, is used for that which is written, maktub, whether it's in the form of a book or in the form of a document or a letter. So take this letter of mine, فَأَلْقِهِ, and then cast it. Deliver it. The ha over here indicates this is a dhamir. So فَأَلْقِهِ, then throw it, deliver it, إِلَيْهِمْ, to them. To who? To the people of Saba. The queen of Saba and her people. ثُمَّ, then, تَوَلَّ عَنْهُمْ, turn away from them. Turn away from who? From the people of Saba. فَانْظُرْ, and then look, مَاذَا يَرْجِعُونَ, what is it that they return? Why does he say that deliver the letter to them and then تَوَلَّ عَنْهُمْ? تَوَلَّ عَنْ, when the word tawalla is followed by an, it means to cease to be close. To cease to be close to someone. And this could be by going away from them, or it could be by turning your face away from them, by going far away from them, moving aside from them. So tawalla anhum, meaning don't just fly around them, but rather stand aside, withdraw, move aside. Why does he say this to him? observe the royal etiquette. When you're in the court, when you deliver the letter to them, don't just go on randomly flying here to there in your excitement. No. Stand aside. Observe the royal etiquette. Tawalla anhum. And tawalla anhum can also be understood as that stay aside, meaning don't let anyone see you. Deliver the letter secretly and turn away from them. Don't let anyone see you. Fanzur, and then watch, observe. Mada yarji'un, what is it that they return? What does it mean by this mada yarji'un? Yarji'un from ruju'. That what is it that they return to one another? Meaning, how do they respond to one another? What do they say to one another on receiving this letter? And whatever they say to one another, come and give me the report of that. Or mada yarji'un can also be understood as what is it that they return? Meaning, how do they respond to this letter of mine? How do they react? Go and look. Go and check. So Sulaiman alayhi salam, he wrote a letter to the Queen of Saba and her people, and he gave it to the Hudhud to deliver the letter. And in this letter, basically, he addressed the Queen and her people, and he invited them to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, he wrote several letters to the kings of his time. The king of Rome, the king of Persia, the kingdoms that existed at that time. He wrote letters to the kings. Why? In order to invite them to Islam. Because remember that the messenger of Allah, his duty is what? To call people to Allah. And this is why Sulaiman alayhi salam, he sent this letter of invitation to Islam to who? To these non-believing people. So what does this show to us? That a person must do da'wah in whatever way that he can. That he must realize that if anyone is not a Muslim, it is his duty to do da'wah to him. We cannot say, oh, it's their choice, let them be. No. It's our duty to tell them, to invite them. At least invite them. Because sometimes it happens that there are people who, when they're invited to Islam, would you like to become Muslim? When they're told, they say, okay. Why did they not become Muslim before? Nobody ever asked me. I never knew. I never really thought about it. So, it's our obligation that we must invite people to the religion of Allah, because this is the way of the prophets of Allah. And we see that in order to invite these people, what does he do? He sends a letter. What does that show to us? That da'wah can be done in any way. Sometimes it can be done how? Through a conversation. Another time it could be done how? By a speech, by sharing something. And sometimes it can also be done by letters, by emails, by sending something to the other. So what happened then? The bird went, it delivered the letter, and the queen, when she received the letter, قالت, she said, Ya ayyuhal mala'u, O mala'. Meaning, she's addressing who? Her chiefs, her special people, her dignitaries, her council, her courtiers. So she says to them, Ya ayyuhal mala', inni, indeed I, ulqiya ilayya, it has been thrown to me, meaning it has been delivered to me. What has been delivered to me? Kitabun, a letter. A letter has been delivered to me, and this letter is Kitabun Kareem. It's a noble letter. It's a royal letter. It's an honorable letter. It's not an ordinary letter. Now, ulqiya, what does it show? It has been delivered to me, meaning I don't know who has given it. I don't know who actually delivered it, but it has been delivered to me. So this shows that the Hudhud, it came and delivered the letter secretly, and he turned aside from them, just as Sulaiman alayhi salam had instructed him to do so. And she, the queen, she describes the letter as Kareem. Now what does it mean by Kitabun Kareem? What makes a letter noble? What makes a letter honorable, respectable, good? There could be several reasons. First of all, the sender. Who has sent the letter? That makes the letter noble, special. Like for example, one is that you receive some mail from a random advertising company, and the other is that you receive some mail from the government of Canada. Right? There is a difference, isn't it? When you see these two letters side by side, which one will you open first? the government one, right? What is it? Is it something to do with my taxes, something to do with my work or something? You get concerned and immediately you open it up. Is everything okay? Did I do anything wrong? So a royal letter, a noble letter, what makes it noble? First of all, the sender. That who is it that has sent it? So over here, why was it noble? Because the sender was Sulaiman alayhi salam. And Sulaiman alayhi salam was not just a prophet of Allah, but also a king. Another thing that makes a letter noble is the content of the letter. That what is it that the letter says? What is mentioned in the letter? And this letter was noble because of its good content. And what is the content? Inshallah, we'll read that very soon. Thirdly, another thing that makes a letter noble is its khatm, its seal. That if it is sealed, if it is stamped, meaning the stamp of the king, the seal of the king is given on it. If it's there on it, then that makes it a noble letter. And this is why we see that whenever the Prophet ﷺ, when he would also send letters, what would he do? He would stamp them with his seal. Why? Because it makes a letter noble. And we see that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, he said that karamul kitabi khatmuhu. That the karam, the nobility of a letter is in its seal, in its stamp. Because if there is a seal on it, then what does that show? That it is from someone special. Who would put their seal? Who would put their stamp? Don't think about postage stamps, okay? Because I see some of you puzzled. We're not talking about those. Earlier, what people would do is that after they completed writing a letter, they would roll it up, they would close it, and they would put hot wax in order to seal it. And the hot wax, they would put their stamp on it so that there would be an imprint of their name or something like that. So when it is sealed like that with the wax and you have the name imprinted on it, what does it show? That it is actually from the sender. It is authentic. Nobody has opened it. Nobody has changed it. Nobody has altered it. It is exactly how it was intended to be. So, إِنِّي أُلْقِيَ إِلَيَّ كِتَابٌ كَرِيمٌ, that a noble letter has been delivered to me. It is also said that مَنْ كَتَبَ إِلَى أَخِيهِ كِتَابًا وَلَمْ يَخْتِمُهُ فَقَدْ اسْتَخَفَّ بِهِ. That whoever writes a letter to his brother and he does not seal it properly, then it is as though he has belittled his friend. That he has not honored him. Because if he truly honored him, he would put his name on it. He would put his seal on it. So, إِنِّي أُلْقِيَ إِلَيَّ كِتَابٌ كَرِيمٌ. Now, according to some narrations, it is said that the Hudhud, it took the letter and he went to the palace of the queen, and while she was asleep, he went and delivered the letter to her. But Allahu A'lam how exactly he delivered it. All we know is that he somehow delivered the letter, and the queen, she found the letter, and what did she do? She didn't just read it and disregard it. No. She realized that it was an important letter. And she did not want to take a step before discussing it with who? With the members of her council. What do we see over here? Sulaiman a.s. also, he was not hasty. Similarly over here, she is also not hasty. A leader must possess this quality. Before taking a step, before taking any action, do what is required on your part. Sometimes we get so emotional, we get so excited, or we get so angry that without even discussing with other people, what do? We go and do whatever we want to do. So it's part of the intelligence of a person that they share with other people whatever concerns them. Now, whatever Sulaiman a.s. wrote to her was not only something between her and him, but rather it concerned the entire nation. It concerned her entire people. This is why she did not just read the letter and make a decision by herself, but rather she consulted her people. And we see that the Prophet ﷺ also, he had this great characteristic that he consulted with the Sahaba on every matter. And he was of those people who consulted the most in any important matter. He would not make a decision himself, rather what would he do? He would always consult with the Sahaba. Whenever he would go for a battle, where do we fight from? How do we fight? in which manner, what technique, he would always discuss with the companions. And if you think about it, the Prophet ﷺ, he received revelation. And he was the best of those people. But still, he took his companions along with him. He gave them the sense of sharing the responsibility. Because if the leader takes the steps all by himself, if he makes the decisions all by himself and does not involve the people, then what does that build? Resentment in the hearts of the subjects. They say that they don't care about me. Like for example, if even within a household, even within a family, if the parents, they do whatever they want to themselves and they never ever discuss things with the children, then what happens? The children say, no, I don't want to do it. You never consulted me. So it builds resentment. And when you discuss things with other people, then it's very, very easy to take them along with you. But unfortunately, many times we don't discuss with other people thinking that their suggestion is not going to be good enough. They have nothing to do with it. They should just listen and accept. They have to listen to the Amir. We are the Umara, so they should obey us. But we see that Shura is extremely necessary. We learn in Surah Shura, ayah number 38, that وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ, that those believers whose affair is determined by consultation among themselves. That they never take any major step except after consulting one another. Except after discussing with one another. Because it's quite possible that when you're thinking about something, your thinking is biased. You're only looking at it from one angle. Your knowledge is limited, your experience is limited, and you are viewing that thing with your bias, your desires, and it's quite possible you make a decision that's not as good. But the moment you consult someone else, what happens? They show you the other side of the story. They tell you something else, which makes you think more about what you have to do. And it opens up all those things that you never considered before. So it's very, very essential that if we want to come to a good conclusion, to a good decision that benefits everyone, then what do we need to do? Discuss. Shawirhum fil amr. This is what the Prophet ﷺ was told. And it's extremely important for teamwork as well. That if you want to take everybody along with you, then again you have to discuss. Because if you don't discuss, then people will not work with you anymore. They will not want to go along with you. They will be unwilling to accept. So she says that to me, a noble letter, a royal letter has been delivered. And then she doesn't just tell them, oh, a royal letter has been delivered to me. And they're wondering, okay, what does that letter say? And who is it from? No, she shares the entire letter with them. Because sometimes we also have this thing that we tell people only half of the story. And the other half, they're in suspense about it. They're curious about it, they want to ask, but they don't have the confidence to ask, and we don't even tell them. So she says to them that إِنَّهُ مِن سُلَيْمَانَ, indeed it is from Sulaiman. Meaning this kitab, this letter is from who? Sulaiman alayhi salam. وَإِنَّهُ, and indeed it, meaning it begins with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It reads in the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. What does it show to us? That Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is a statement that has been there for a very, very long time. Sulaiman alayhi salam also used this statement. He mentions the name of Allah at the beginning of the letter. And this was the way of the Prophet ﷺ as well. What? Mentioning the name of Allah at the beginning. And before saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, what is mentioned? Who the letter is from. Who the sender is. Now many times what happens, we write a long letter to someone, a long note to someone, and then right at the end we say, oh, this person. And sometimes we don't even write the name. And the other person is wondering, who is this from? Like sometimes random notes come to me and I have no idea who wrote it. And I'm trying to figure out how by the writing of the person. Some people's writing I'm familiar with, but many people I'm not familiar with their writing. So when you get a random note without the name of the person on it, you are left in suspense. So what is the proper etiquette? Write the name at the beginning. So like for example, these days when you send an email to someone, what happens? Your name shows up before the actual email. But sometimes we put such names on our email addresses that have nothing to do with you, and the other person is wondering, who is this Princess 2005? Huh? So don't give such names. Don't make such email addresses. What's the harm in putting your name? What's the harm? There's no harm, unless you're doing something wrong. So put your name, be confident about it. If the other person sees your name, it's only going to lead to khair. Don't put the other people in suspense. So we see that the Prophet ﷺ, Prophet Sulaiman ﷺ, both of them, they observed this rule that whenever they sent letters, at the beginning, at the top, what was mentioned? The name of the sender. And then Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Because whenever a person begins any important matter, how should he do so? By mentioning the name of Allah. And then what's the content of the letter? What does he say? Allah ta'lu alayya. Be not haughty with me. Do not exalt against me in defiance. Wa'tuni muslimin, and come to me as Muslims. That's it. That's the entire letter. Min Sulaiman, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allah ta'lu alayya, wa'tuni muslimin. That's all the letter is about. It's so brief, it's so clear, straight to the point. He doesn't say, how are you doing? I'm the Prophet of Allah. I have heard that you live in this country, and I have heard that you do shirk, and by the way, you shouldn't do that. No. No proofs, no evidences, no long discussions. Nothing like that. Simple, clear, to the point words. Sometimes when we're doing da'wah, we're so indirect that the other person is wondering, so what are you trying to say? What are you trying to get at? And we give one book after the other, one big book after the other. And the other person is wondering, this big book, how am I supposed to read it? So be very, very careful in the manner that you approach the other person. In a very precise way, he says, Allah ta'lu alayya wa'tuni muslimin. Because you see, the more concise and brief a message is, the better effect it has. And the longer you make it, it's going to lose its effect. Now why does he say this? Allah ta'lu alayya. Why does he go straight to the purpose that do not exalt yourself against me? Wa'tuni muslimin, and come to me as Muslims. Why does he say that? You see, the prophets of Allah, what was their responsibility? To call people to the worship of Allah alone. And this is why he invited them to Islam. That wa'tuni muslimin, come to me as Muslims. Meaning as ones who are submitting to Allah. And don't rise up against me. Rather you should obey me. Because every prophet of Allah, he should be obeyed. We have learnt in Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 64, that وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا لِيُطَاعَ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. We have not sent any messenger except that he should be obeyed by the permission of Allah. So this is why he says, Allah ta'lu alayya, don't stand up against me, rather obey me. وَأْتُونِي muslimin, and come to me as Muslims, meaning as ones who believe in Allah, submitting to Allah completely. So this is the reason why he said this to them, because it was his responsibility to guide them, to call them to Islam, and he delivers the message in a very clear and precise manner, in very short words. And we see that the speech of the Prophet ﷺ was also like that. How? Short and to the point. Because if it was very long and lengthy, then we would have many, many, many books of ahadith. قالت, she said, Ya ayyuhal mala'u, O mala, O eminent ones, aftuni fi amri, advise me in my affair. Now again she is discussing this matter with who? With her people. She does not make a decision herself, rather she discusses with them. And she shares the entire letter with them. That Ya ayyuhal mala'u aftuni fi amri. Aftuni, fatwa, fatwa. What does fatwa mean? A legal verdict. It's a legal verdict. It is basically a solution to a difficult issue, to a complicated matter. So anything that a person says, you can't call it a fatwa. Like for example, if I ask you, did you do your work? And you say no. And I say, why are you being tardy? So you say, oh, she gave me fatwa that I'm being tardy. This is not fatwa. Okay? Fatwa is what? A solution to a complicated issue. So just because somebody has said something, don't say, they say this fatwa, they have given this fatwa. Every other statement of a person is not a fatwa. Okay? Fatwa is only the solution to a complicated issue. You don't understand what's going on, you don't know what to do, so you go ask someone who is knowledgeable about that matter, and they give you a solution. Like earlier we have learned, يَسْتَفْتُونَكَ. They ask you about who? About the kalala. Right? This was a confusing matter. So the Sahaba, they went to the Prophet ﷺ seeking a legal verdict that what do we do in this case? So similarly over here, this was a difficult issue. This was a very important matter. So she says, Ya ayyuhal mala'u aftuni fi amri. Give me an opinion in this matter of mine. Guide me. What should I do? Tell me what should I do. And she says, Ma kuntu qati'atan amran. I am not one to decide a matter hatta tashhaduni, until you witness for me. Ma kuntu qati'atan. Qati'atan? Qati'ah. Qaf, ta'ain, qata'a. What does qata'a mean? To cut something. And qata'a is used in two ways. First of all, in the literal sense, to cut something. Like for example, as-sariqu was-sariqatu faqta'u aydiyahuma. This is in the literal sense. But the word qata' is also used in the figurative sense. And it's used for, let's say, crossing the road. Qat'u tariq. Or for example, qat'u al-amr is to fix, to appoint a matter, meaning to decide that this is what's going to be done. To implement a final decision, to make a decision. So, ma kuntu qati'atan amran, meaning I am not going to make a final decision hatta tashhaduni, until you are present with me, meaning until you considered and until you give me your opinion. You have to be a part of making this decision. You have to be a part of making this decision. You cannot just leave it up to me. What do we see over here? That the queen, she's not a dictator. She doesn't say, this is what I have decided and this is what we're going to do, and too bad you have to listen to me. No. She says to them, I am not going to decide until I have your support. Until you give your input. You have to put your share, and then we're going to mutually decide. And this is something very, very important. And you see, she's a woman. And you can see this wisdom in her. And every woman must possess this quality. Every woman must possess this quality. If you want your family to function smoothly, if you want your relationships to be good, then this is something very, very important. Many times as women, we make certain decisions and we just inform the husbands. Oh, by the way, I'm inviting so-and-so. Please go and get this, and please stay out of the house on this particular day. And when we do this, do we get their support? No. Sometimes we tell our parents, by the way, Mom, I've decided to do this. Will we get her support? No. If you want the support of other people, especially as women, you have to take other people along with you. You see, she was a woman. The people could have easily overthrown her. She was a queen, a woman after all. They could have easily overthrown her. So look at her wisdom, look at her intelligence, that she does not make a decision herself unless and until she consults with everybody else. Anytime you want to do something, it's a very important tip that I'm giving to all of you women. Anytime you want to do something and you feel that people might not agree, people might not cooperate with you, don't go and tell them, I want to do this. By the way, I want to do that. No. Say, this is the issue, what do you think about it? And then slowly and gradually take them to what you think. And this is exactly what this woman does over here. Because if you tell, for example, your husband, I am going to do this, he is the qawwam. Okay? And he's going to become very upset that how dare you make a decision without telling me? I'm supposed to be the man of the house and I'm supposed to make this decision and you're supposed to be listening to me. This is not the right way. The right way is that you discuss with them. And when you discuss with them in a decent manner without getting very emotional, then what's going to happen? They will also use their mind and come to the same agreement with you. So this is a very, very important thing. And when people make decisions on their own, then what happens? They lose support from even their family members. They even lose support from their family members. So for example, if you have an assignment due, if you have a test coming up, one is that you have to go somewhere with your husband and you say, I'm sorry, I can't go with you. I have a lot of work to do. You can go yourself. And please take the children as well. If you show this behavior, what's your husband going to do? I'm not going to let you do the assignment. Too bad, you're not going to school. What's the proper way? Sit down with him in a very calm manner and you say, I have this one assignment to do. When do you think I can do it? Do you think I could do it at this time and then we could go later? Do you think you keep the kids for 2 hours, I'll finish the assignment and then we'll go together? There's a difference, right? There's a huge difference. When you discuss with them, they will support you. And when you become so emotional and angry and upset, and you think that everybody just listen to you, then nobody's going to listen to you. You have to discuss things with the family members. And it's very, very important. And it's actually a part of respecting other people. Because if you go on passing orders, nobody's going to want to listen to you. Similarly, you could say, I have been invited over here and here. What do you think? Should I go or not? This is what they have said and this is what this person has requested. What do you think? Maybe I should go here or not there. Maybe I should go for some time. You understand? So it's very important in the way you approach, in the way you touch the subject. And sometimes, you may wonder that, what do they know about my assignment and what do they know about my classes and my tests? But the thing is that once you share it with them, you'll be amazed at the kind of suggestions they'll give you. You'll be amazed at the kind of tips they'll give you. For example, with me, whenever I have any problem with the class, with preparing for the class, I always discuss with my husband that when do you think I should do it? How do I do it? From the beginning of this course, from the beginning of every course, I've been discussing with my husband. And alhamdulillah, he's given me such excellent tips that I feel that without those tips, I don't know what I would have been doing. Honestly. So it's very important that we discuss these issues with them. And if I were just getting upset and angry, oh my God, I can't get my work done, and he's coming home and seeing me upset and angry and the kitchen is a mess and there's no food, will he cooperate with me? No way. No cooperation at all. When you give the haqq of the other person and at the same time you discuss your matters with them, you let them feel, I need your help. I depend on you. I need your help. I need your cooperation. You tell me what to do. Then they're going to feel very good about it. And the kind of suggestions they'll give you, they'll be very beneficial. So we see that the queen also, she uses the same approach. She makes her mala feel that she needs them. I can't make this decision independently. No, I need your input on this. And I'm not doing anything unless you tell me what to do. So this is very important.